Hello,
Hi,
I'm Gabriel.
I'm Izzy, and we want to talk about studying tech at uni, studying coding at uni. So for context,
I studied software engineering at university.
and I studied computer science, so similar degrees, both learning fundamentals of programming.
Now we both work as product managers for a tech company in Sydney, Australia. We both loved doing our degrees and we both did quite well in it. We both got first class honours and we were lucky enough to land up in what are really our dream grad roles straight out of uni.
And looking back on our degrees, there's lots of things that we're really glad that we did and we got into the habit of doing. And there's a few things that we wish we had started doing earlier. So we wanted to put them into a video, share it with people out there who are thinking about going into a technical degree or are in a technical degree so that you guys can hopefully learn from it and implement them, and hopefully it makes your life easier.
So today we have 9 tips for anybody that is thinking about doing a software engineering or computer science degree, is about to start one, or is in the middle of one right now.
We've broken them up into 5 categories that encapsulate each of the important stages of going through a degree. We hope they're helpful. All right, first category is to help you start strong, start off on the right foot.
And our first tip is you do not need to have written any code before you start.
You really don't.
Had you written any?
Absolutely not.
I had never written any whatsoever. And sometimes there's this funny misperception that everybody who goes and does it, computer science or software engineering, comes into it knowing how to code.
Yeah.
False. Totally false.
Totally false. I just picked the degree because I was really interested in solving problems and I knew that technology was the future. And so I wanted to be in that field.
And they have intro to programming courses that are called intro to programming for a very good reason. They go through all of the fundamentals. Now, it's worth working hard in those courses. The more you can grasp those fundamentals early on, the better, because they're really the building blocks. And you don't have to come out of that feeling totally and utterly confident.
No,
that's okay.
You won't, in fact.
You won't.
More likely than not.
So you don't have to have done any programming before you start.
There always will be that like one person in your course that's like, I've been programming since I was 5 years old, but don't let them like freak you out or worry you. Most people are in the same boat. Most people haven't written any code before they start. Tip number 2 is that this is hard for everyone. STEM is hard, tech is hard, coding is hard. And if you're sitting there in your introductory classes or even in your 2nd or 3rd year and you're feeling like everyone has got it together, everyone's killing it, and you're sitting there like, what the fuck is going on? You're not alone. I promise you, everyone feels that way. I felt that way. You felt that way. Everyone I know that did really well felt that way. It's not a unique experience. A lot of people will pretend like they really know what they're doing as like literally a defense mechanism to feel like they've got their shit together. They don't. Nobody does.
Category number 2 is acing your studies and your coursework. And our first tip here is my favorite one. Tip number 3 is that the fundamentals matter way more than anything else. So there are a few key ways of thinking and techniques that underpin every single other thing in computer science. And to be honest, these really fundamental things that you get introduced to in your first year really are the things that I remember today and I use every day in my job. So they're really the things that will stay with you. So these are things like how variables work, how logic works, some really basic stuff about how hardware works. It's really just what memory is.
And how hardware interfaces with software.
Yes.
So what that means is you don't have to be stressed out when people are talking about, oh, I know Django and React and Python and Java and C++. That's very overwhelming. And if you know the fundamentals, they really are transferable to all of those different technologies, and they'll set you up really nicely to pick those things up when you're on your first job, right? You're at your first internship, or you're starting a project that you're interested in and you're using a new technology.
This is so fundamental that even though we started our degrees 1 year apart, we learned different programming languages in our introductory courses at the same university. So those things change all the time. There's always another fashionable programming language to be using. As long as you understand those fundamentals, you can switch from programming language to programming language and pick things up really, really quickly.
That's right. It's all about learning on the job, baby. Tip number 4 is make friends in your classes, ideally in your tutes. This will save you so much heartache. It's very much the case of a problem shared is a problem halved. And this relates not only to the actual coursework, so being able to like spar how to solve a particular question or how to implement something or how to do an assignment, but also ranting about the course and the lecturers and how hard it is. It's so much better if you're going through it with a bunch of people that you trust and that are there to support you.
Category number 3 is getting through / surviving. Now, sometimes it's really fun. Sometimes you have a great time.
Sometimes you
And
cry.
Sometimes
all
it's
the
hard
time.
and shit,
And
and you end up crying.
That's fine.
And that's really when you need some tips. So here are ours.
Tip number 5 is start your assignments early and plan them out before you start coding.
You will thank us later.
You will.
Promise.
Everything takes longer than you think it will. So if you forecast it in your head, this assignment's going to take me a week to do, chances are just double it. As a rule, it'll probably take you 2 weeks. And make sure you're dedicating time at the start to plan out the architecture of your code, how the different functions interact with each other before you start coding. This is a mistake that I made so many times. And all of the assignments that I did better in were ones that I'd planned out before I started coding. And all of the ones that I did worse in consistently were ones where I just jumped in and I was like, I'm just going to start coding, and I didn't plan, and it was a dumpster fire.
I think one way to know if you've planned enough is, can you explain your solution to somebody in words, in normal English, without any programming before you start? And if you've done that, you'll put yourself in a really, really good position.
Definitely.
And if Isabel says it's going to take her 2 weeks, it'll take me 4 weeks. So leave heaps of time.
Oh, that's nice. And also not true.
Tip number 6 is professional software engineers spend most of their time looking at Stack Overflow and Googling the problems that they have. And so don't be put off if you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, we're lucky that we have our own personal Stack Overflows to use. And I have to say, having Isabel has been the most helpful thing ever throughout all the problems that I've had trying to program.
And vice versa.
But we work with professional software engineers all the time. So take it from us firsthand. They spend a lot of time trying to Google the answers to their questions.
Copy and pasting the errors that they get.
Exactly right. So you will do that a lot as well.
And that's okay.
And don't think because you're doing that, it's somehow problematic. Job. It's not like speaking a language where you're not fluent if you need to go and, check your phone every time or check your dictionary or your guidebook or whatever it might be. Expect to be Googling things, because the challenge in programming is not really learning how to use the programming language. It's applying that knowledge to solving specific problems. And software engineers tend to spend way more time debugging code that doesn't work than they do writing code in the first place, which involves a lot of Googling a lot of the time. So if that's happening to you, it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It probably means you're doing it right.
Category number 4 is about setting yourself up for success and getting your dream job.
Tip number 7 is build things. It's so important when you go for an internship or when you go for a job to be able to show some of the things that you've actually made with your programming. So it doesn't matter how shit those things are, it doesn't matter how small they are, just build things and find the things that you enjoy building and that you're curious about. Also, find problems that you really care about and build solutions to those problems. You might not get it 100% right. You probably won't solve world hunger as a uni project, but it's just about engaging with the things that you care about and figuring out what it feels like to actually build solutions to problems.
Also, it's really fun.
It's so much fun.
Tip number 8 is do internships. So I feel like for a lot of people, this is very common knowledge, but I personally did not know that internships were a thing until like my 3rd or 4th year. And then I was like, oh shit, I need to be doing them. And I felt really behind. So we're telling you now so that you can do them as early as you want. You can pretty much start doing them from first year. A lot of companies that do like the big structured internships will take penultimate or final year students, but you can get work experience earlier in your degree by basically like reaching out to smaller startups or like networking or using connections. You could even work part-time, like you could do uni 4 days a week and work 1 day a week, or do uni 3 days a week and work 2 days a week. There are lots of different ways to be getting that work experience, padding out your resume, right from when you start your degree.
You'll have a lot of fun doing it as well, because you get to work with a whole bunch of really smart people. You'll learn super, super quickly. You'll also get a real sense for what it is that you like to do. I think we both know a lot of people who did an internship in something, and whilst they were doing that, they kind of got exposed to something else, and that took them down a totally different path. And the more different experiences you can have doing those things, the better.
Yeah, and if you're going to do multiple internships, do them in different things, because then you'll be gathering data about the industries that you like and don't like, the kind of workplace culture that you like and don't like, the kind of problems that you like solving. And so when you do end up graduating and going for a job, you're going to know a lot about yourself, and you're going to be able to apply for jobs that are really valuable to you and that really align with what you care about.
Category number 5 is staying happy and being fulfilled. Tip number 9 is think about the things that you really care about and don't ever stop engaging with those things. There's this saying that software is eating the world. And what that means is that software is being applied everywhere. And so the people who really make a difference are ones who take software plus something. So whatever that thing is, whatever the thing is that gets you out of bed in the morning, that's going to be the thing that you can really make an impact with your software engineering or your computer science degree. So never forget about that thing.
As an example, we have a friend who's super interested in healthcare and biomedical science. So for her, being able to apply software to the health space and go into something like health tech is not only going to be super, super valuable for the world, but it's going to be something that she really enjoys. And you might be somebody that's interested in like designing experiences, or maybe you're interested in languages, or you're interested in social justice. And there's myriad ways to apply software to all of those really important problems and use software to solve those problems.
Another thing is programming gets hard sometimes, and sometimes it can feel a little bit kind of depersonalized and far away from people. And if you're always doing those other things that you love, it just keeps you grounded. It keeps you enjoying yourself. It keeps you feeling balanced. And that's just so important.
Totally. Those were our 9 tips. Did you put up 9 fingers?
Yes.
Excellent. So hopefully those were helpful. Let us know if there's anything specific that you want us to talk about in the comments, or anything that you want us to elaborate on. Hope you found something useful in this. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.